Hi there, my name is Kendrick, and welcome to another ENFP male interview. Today I get to interview Payton. So welcome, man.
Thank you. Good to be here, man.
For sure, dude. Can you tell us what your full type is?
Yeah, so I'm an ENTP jumper, masculine, feminine, NEFE, play, consume, sleep, blast.
So how did you feel and what did you think when you got your results back?
Yeah, I was honestly, I was pretty excited. So I was kind of like, that's kind of weird. Like I feel like a lot of people are like, what? But I had literally, and I don't know, maybe this is a feminine extroverted intuition thing. You'll have to let me know since you have that too. But I had considered myself to be every single type, like pretty much. Like, I mean, maybe not all 512, but I'd considered every function, every like possibility. And FE, extroverted feeling, was probably one of the first that I was like, I definitely feel like I have that. And then I feel like I slowly talked myself out of it. And I was like, oh no, I can't be that because I want to be that. And so when I got the results, like I had that in there and I was like, wow. And I was like, I'm a jumper. That's so cool. And but I really didn't see expert intuition being first. So that was kind of fun and different. And I'm still trying to figure out how that works. But yeah, overall, I was pretty happy with it.
I like how that was fun and different. That was good. I was like, that's it's like
Yeah.
yeah, fun and different is good. Um,
Hmm.
you kind of look like an ENFP though for some reason. Like it's maybe because you're like reddish hair-ish, kind of.
Yeah. I kind of, wonder with my red hair, like if I would be clumped into anything. And I don't know if they've seen any clumping with the ENTP jumpers or ENTPs at all. But yeah, I kind of wonder that too. So
Yeah. Yeah, because most gingers are like ENFPs and some jumper ESTJs, but usually ENFPs.
yeah, yeah,
So it's kind of interesting. But they did say that the cousin types can also inherit the look. So
yeah,
ENFP and ENTPs are kind of like cousins, right? So
sure.
I guess that's where it would come from. Let's go over your parts. Let's start with that feminine extrovert intuition. How do you personally experience that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really like the like chaos and stuff in the physical world, I would say, but I don't mind it in the abstract sense, I guess. Like I love gathering in new concepts. So I first like learned the Enneagram and like that concept. Like I just dove really hard into that. I love the Enneagram, for example. And then when I found like objective personality, like I've just dove in and I just keep gathering. And whenever I like don't know, like when I didn't know my type, I was just like, okay, well, instead of just like going over what I already learned, let's just keep watching more and more videos. Let's go to Kendrick's channel and just watch all of his videos. It's just like gather as much, but especially like in the abstract. Like I don't really gather physical things that much, I don't think. And then the feminine, I don't know. I haven't really been able to figure out the feminine versus masculine extra intuition as much. It's more of that, like that piece comes in more, I think, from memory, which we might want to get to later with the SI or something like that. But I can definitely see SI being last, and my memory is pretty bad. So uh, yeah, so that's kind of how I can see that. But otherwise, expert intuition is mostly just that gathering abstract ideas. But I don't really feel like, the any like stereotype of like the mad scientist, like that kind of, I don't really feel that as much. I don't know if you agree or feel that way or what, but
Uh, I don't feel like I'm a mad scientist, but maybe because
yeah,
I'm tribal of self. I don't know. That could be it.
yeah, that could be, yeah,
Yeah, I mean, you're technically NF. You're not like the NETI, so you're not going to be the mad.
right,
You're not even a scientist. You're like a hippie, right? So
yeah.
yeah. Um, let's go over your second animal, masculine TI. How do you experience masculine TI?
Yeah, masculine TI. I don't feel like I'm super pushy with my TI because I mean it isn't a savior and it's it's I feel like my FE wins out a lot of time, which I guess makes sense. That's why I have savior FE. But like I've always valued my intelligence. I've always valued being smart, learning, and building systems of thinking and stuff like that. But I don't really fight with my TI very much. I feel like I'm much more like I'll just play with the world with my FE. And so it's very feminine. So I'm pretty like conflict avoidant and stuff like that. Cause I know some masculine TIs are very like, this is what I think no matter what. But that's kind of where I see it. I'll be very like flowy with the tribe and the extroverted feeling until eventually it's like, nope, this is what's right or wrong. And so that's eventually kind of where my masculine TI shows up, I feel like.
TI is work also. Would you say
Mhm.
work is personal for you, and like the socializing aspect is more the impersonal side?
Yeah, I wouldn't have ever thought about that until, yeah, until objective personality. But yeah, I kind of will go do social things with other people or whatever. I like to do that when I play even like video games. Like I want to do that with like another person. I don't really like to play video games by myself. I don't really like to do fun things by myself. But then I love just to come back to my room or whatever and just really work on like learning, the work in my, like I consider even like learning about personalized systems. I like the work of that. I'll do that by myself, or I'll go and during my work day, I'll work by myself most of the time, and I'm totally fine with that. So yeah.
Gotcha. Because I have FI, so for me,
Hmm.
who I socialize with is important. Like I will not socialize with just about anybody because that's
Hmm.
the personal side. But for work, I don't care who I work with. I work with anybody,
Yeah.
So
So how are you with like meeting new people? Because like I'm sure you're fine with meeting new people. You're a double decider, but
yeah.
I'll be friends with anyone. You know what I mean? So.
Right. Well, I mean, I'll meet anybody, but I won't
Hmm.
hang out with them on my spare time.
Yeah,
I'll
that makes
like,
sense.
if someone says, I'll take you out for coffee or for lunch, whatever. I'm like, nope, nope, you're not gonna do anything because you're not my friend. So,
Yeah.
like, and I have categories, right? It's like you're a work friend. So work
Mm,
friend, anything socializing we do is just at work. Unless
interesting.
unless I let you in the personal life. So I have like filters that I go through before I
Yeah,
do.
that makes sense.
Yeah, but I
Yeah.
noticed with people like you guys, like FE people, they're like, oh yeah, we hang out with anybody. I don't care. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah. But then for work, no, you're not gonna work with just about anybody. It's that's personal.
Yeah, group projects aren't really my favorite thing because I feel like no one else sees it the same way or wants to work as hard as I do. It feels like a lot of times. So yeah, I like that kind of stuff. It seems like I can just usually get things done faster by myself. So yeah.
Right. Um, I'll ask you more questions about that once we get to the sleep, the ST sleep part, because that's
Yeah.
interesting. Let's go with your third function, extrovert feeling, feminine extrovert feeling.
Yeah.
How do you personally experience feminine extrovert feeling?
Yeah. The reason, so earlier on when I said that like I thought I was FE off the bat is I feel like that's the function I feel like I see the most. And it's because I feel like, geez, but I feel like I'm constantly trying to make sure like the vibes of the room, the group, whoever I'm with, I'm constantly worried about like the vibes. I usually can walk into a room and kind of feel out like, okay, this person, like there's some tension in this room, or I like to ease the tension when there's like a problem. I'll make a joke, or also just diving deeper. I mean, recently I was in a situation where so, like it was a very intimate, like kind of sad moment, and someone just completely like changed the subject, and it was like you just completely messed up the vibe. Like I'm just like, how do you do that? And so that stuff seems very obvious to me. The feminine part is interesting because they talk about how feminine extrovert feeling is usually very like that person is usually pretty emotional, and that might be more of a lead extrovert feeling, not like the double decider extrovert feeling. But I'm not like a super emotional person. um I feel the emotions of other people. I feel like a lot more than I feel my own emotions, and I'm not sure if that's because it's only single activated or why that is. But yeah.
Gotcha. So part of extrovert feeling is also tribe values. So it's like seeing what the tribe values and adhering to what the tribe values. Do you see
Yeah.
yourself doing that and kind of, you know,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
go for
for
it.
sure. Yeah, like I tried to make sure like what I wore today, even for this interview, I was like, I'll just wear kind of a neutral because it's like no one's gonna be like thinking too much about this. Wanted my hair to look good. I mean, that could be other things too, but otherwise, yeah, in social situations, like I am always, especially feminine, I feel like that's why I can see the feminine is I'll just flow with whatever tribe values, and I can kind of be a chameleon in a sense of, if I'm with one group that values like being smart, then I'll like put on that kind of like characteristics. But then if I'm in like a more sporty group, then I'll be like all sporty and stuff like that. So I can, I feel like I'm pretty good at like adhering to whatever group's social norms and stuff like that that exist. So for sure.
So what I find interesting about FE is it's like David Chan calls it the liar function, but at the same time there is some authenticity to it as well. So that's the part I want to ask you. So because extra feeling does what is appropriate, like the appropriate
Yeah.
emotion for the moment.
Mm-hmm.
appropriate emotion to react to someone who are having a specific kind of emotion. It could be happiness, sadness, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
However, on the flip side, you can also produce your own real emotion out of that FE. It just comes out outwardly, right? So
Mm-hmm.
can you tell me a story when you were doing like the fake emotional FE bouncing thing versus when it actually was your emotion, which is coming out extrovertedly, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Um, yeah. So I feel like the fake FE sort of thing, the liar function part of it is probably more than the other one. So I mean, just all the time, basically. If someone gets engaged or something like that, then I'll just be like, oh my gosh, that's so awesome. Like, but like I'm not really like it's not really that personal to me because it's extra. Like it's just yeah, I'll put on these feelings for you or whatever. But I feel like for me when I see it is so I actually work at a church and like I have to do some pastoral care stuff. And so when I'm like at a funeral or recently I was with someone that was nearing towards their deathbed, and it's like in those moments where like it feels more like I feel worse faking sadness, I think, if that makes sense. And so I feel like all of a sudden like I'll just catch myself being like teary-eyed almost, and it's just like, okay, where did that come from? And it was in like them sharing how much they love their wife that just passed away, or passed away 10 years ago or whatever, so in those moments it's like that elicited a much more real emotional response and it didn't feel fake. So yeah.
Yeah, that to me is the most interesting thing about FE is that it's not a pure liar function. There is realness to it, but
Yeah.
it's hard to distinguish which is which. Like only you would
Yeah,
know, only you would know that, like, when it comes out.
it's 100% true. Yeah, I feel like I can be kind of tricky with my emotions for sure. So
Yeah. Yeah, I saw a video with Jordan Peterson, and they asked him how he felt when all this young guys would go up to him and tell him that they changed he changed their life and made them more
hmm
disciplined and stuff. And he's like, I feel good. He started crying and stuff. I'm like, no, that's not fake. That's real. And
yeah,
so, so it's like, yeah, you guys use it for fake reasons, but there's also times when it is real. And, you
yeah,
know,
yeah. Does TE do that? Like, you know what I mean? Like, how do you feel like you fake, ideas? And I don't know.
well, I mean, and he can generate ideas too, right? So,
Yeah, yeah,
so,
true.
um, but with TE, it's like, was something was that decision based on um a thought process that I came up with, or is it a thought process
hmm
that I just stole from someone else? So I
Yeah,
think that's where like the fakeness comes from. Because like if you're TI, you might say, "Oh, that's a brilliant idea." Well, I
yeah,
probably stole it from someone, right? But you don't know that because maybe I made it myself because the TE can also make an original idea, but
yeah,
it's so that's where it's coming from. So it's not like with emotion, but like the work
yeah.
or
That's
idea.
good. Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense.
Um, I'll give you an example, actually, just a quick one.
Yeah.
So me and my girlfriend were thinking of getting a mortgage, uh,
hmm
and but I wasn't sure yet. Like I'm just like thinking about it, and then my coworker
hmm
all starts telling me why it's a good idea to get a mortgage, and I feel myself getting like pulled by that, like, and I'm like,
Hmm.
and now I'm like by myself, I'm like thinking to myself, I'm like, is that really the right thing to do? So I'm like just
Yeah,
questioning it. But at that point though, I was swept away with it. It's feminine TE, right? Like
sure.
you're feminine FE, so you're gonna get swept emotionally. So for me,
Yeah,
it's like ideas wise. So that's how I got swept, right? So now I'm
yeah,
trying to think, okay, what is like the right thing to do? The like for me, not like I don't have TI, but I can still kind of figure out, right? So that's where like the originalness is coming from. It's me questioning the other people's
hmm
TE.
yeah.
Uh,
No, that makes sense.
so I mean, it could happen to you too, right? The FE, because like you're thinking, okay, what is appropriate, right? The
Right.
appropriate emotion for the situation. But you might say, should I really have just gone along with that, or maybe I should have actually told the person the truth? Like I
hmm
don't know if you've ever thought that way.
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure. I definitely think so. I wonder if a double decider would maybe think about those types of things more because I'm bouncing back and forth of,
Right, right, exactly.
And so it's like, yeah, am I just telling them what they want to hear? Am I just emotionally giving them what they want?
Right.
Or is this actually real? Yeah.
So
For sure.
even though FE is like a liar function, because you're a double-sider, you have close friends that you've known, your life, and you've let them inside your TI essentially, because they're
Yeah.
your close friends. So you feel more comfortable telling them the truth, the TI truth. Um,
Yeah.
can you give me an example when you did have that tough choice whether to tell them the liar function stuff or the TI truth, and then you told them the truth instead because you valued them as a friend and you felt like, you know what, I'll be doing a disservice if I just told them what they wanted to hear instead of what they needed to hear.
Yeah. 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 I feel like one time, this is good. I have a really bad memory, so I'm surprised I actually remember something. So here you go. There was like one of my best friends that we've been friends since high school, since like 8th grade for me, I think. But he is in a relationship, and it's very easy for me to just be like, oh yeah, she's awesome. Like, of course you guys should get married and all this stuff. And that's how I normally would be. And I'm excited to get to know her. And I put on all that, like she's great, you're great, whatever. But there is a point when he's dating her that I'm just like, hey man, like, do you actually like, because he had feelings for another girl not too long ago. And I'm like, is this really the girl that you think you're gonna marry? Or are you just kind of doing this for fun and just wanting someone to be with you? And so I feel like that did kind of take him, a little bit by shock. But at the same time, we've had moments like that probably before because we've been friends for a while. But yeah, I think that's where it was eventually. It's like, nope, like the truth of this matter is, I feel like you might be hurting her, like leading her on. So like, eventually, it's like that's gotta, and that would only come out with like my really close friends. But yeah,
How do they react when release the TI truth?
I feel like again, he was a little bit surprised. But I think he really appreciated it too, because I feel like it showed me that in some ways that actually showed I cared more than my fake FE can sometimes, it feels like FE is like such a, oh, I care, but in some ways, if you're faking that, that's not going to mean as much as if you say, okay, I'm going to actually share my TI with you. And
Right.
that can actually show more care. And so I think he felt cared for because I was trying to help him the best way I could and make sure he was in a relationship that was like gonna last and be helpful for him. So I think at first he was surprised and had a little hard time answering, but I feel like then when we went into it, I think he felt really cared for and appreciated. So
That's awesome.
yeah,
It's good to definitely good to be a double decider because then you can figure out like, okay, which one should I use for this situation, right?
yeah, yeah,
Uh, cool. It's kind of interesting though that the advice that your friend would seek out or the advice that you would give out would be more relationship advice. So I guess FE is
yeah. That's interesting. Yeah,
you're
I
not
didn't
you're
think
not
about that.
telling yeah, you're not telling him like how he should do his work. It's more like how he should handle his relationship. So I'm like, oh, fascinating.
Yeah, personal truth about relationships. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, that's
exactly. Yeah,
interesting.
personal truth about relationships. Exactly.
Yeah, yeah, that's weird. I've never thought about that. That's a good point.
Um, let's go back to your consume. You double activated consume since you're blast last.
Hmm.
NETI, anti consume. So I'm assuming that whenever you have a problem that needs solving, your go-to is consume. Like you'll go find resources to go solve that problem. Is that something that you personally do?
Yeah, yeah, I would say so. I mean, with the play, I don't mind asking other people for help, but yeah, maybe because of the double activated consume, the double activated TI, especially when it comes to work stuff. Like I feel like I'll go to other people more for relationship stuff or maybe decisions or something like that. But when it comes to work, like getting something fixed or yeah, it's not a big deal. Pretty easily just go to YouTube or try to figure out for myself. And yeah, my consume, I feel like it's also the nerdy side is like, I didn't realize it until I realized what I spend time like taking information about. It's super nerdy. Like obviously like personality, like that's fairly nerdy. And then like recently I like got into chess and I was like, oh my gosh, like that is so like, that's a pretty nerdy thing, or video games or yeah, so the the nerdy part of it is definitely in that sense. But consuming for what works is, yeah, I don't know. The NT consume is the nerdy part helps me a lot. Otherwise, it's sometimes a little bit more difficult for me to see it, I think.
Gotcha. Let's talk about your play. This is your first function, first animal. It's NF. It's hippie. There's a lot of dimension to play, or sorry, to NF play. So let's go cover all the different dimensions and see how you relate to them. First one is expending your energy for the tribe. So talk about that. Like how, like it's your first one. So is that something that you do out of control? Like you're always expending energy for other people?
So like looking at my life, I feel like in high school, I was definitely more that way. Just kind of do whatever. I was like, I'm an extreme introvert. I love going to parties, and I'll expend energy all day long for anyone. I'll do stuff. If someone wants to go, I'll just go. But I feel like more recently I've been developing my sleep third, and so I feel like I'm getting pretty good actually at putting on the brakes. Sometimes I worry that like I'm doing that too much, like saying no, like it feels like, oh, I must be saying no so much, but it's like with play first, I'm probably not. Like I'm probably still expending energy a lot more than I am like conserving energy. And that's the thing, when I'm in a group, like I don't think I'm even fully aware of how much energy like I am just expending. I feel responsible to carry the conversation. I feel responsible to do what everyone else is doing. But it has been really nice to have that sleep third, because I don't feel like I over expend. Like I feel like I'm a lot better at saying no to things. But I am worried that like it will like hurt someone's feelings or something like that. So.
Well, since you're already on that topic, can you talk about being energy dominant then? Like expending and preserving energy and having the breaks when you've gone too far with expending your energy and time to rest up.
Yeah. It's that one was pretty obvious to me. I thought that I must be energy dominant because I do feel like my life is characterized by like expending, like go stop, go stop, and so yeah, I don't. And also with the double decider, I feel like it's easy for me to like do things for other people and expend energy for other people for a time, but then I want to value myself too. So like my play, it's like it's first, so I'm going to really take care of the tribe, do things with the tribe for a while. But then I go into consume sleep, which is very like pretty mopey, like pretty like I'm just going to be in my room for hours, and so I'm preserving my energy for a while then. And then I guess eventually I'll go out and blast and do something with it. That's probably my weakest, obviously. But the energy dominant of conserving and expending energy is not a problem for me. Like I feel like I do pretty good on that. And like I love when they talk about like thinking about it. Like I've noticed, like I'll be like, oh, thank you for your time and energy, or oh no, you don't have to, you don't have to come. Like I want to respect your time and energy. Like that's a big thing in my life for sure. And so when Dave and Shan talk about that, being like their neighbor with the kid or what, whatever, like it's I would want to make sure, be like, hey, like no worries, like I don't want to call you because then that would waste your time or energy. So I wouldn't want to do that either. So all about saving and preserving mine and everyone else's. I'm always worried about that.
Gotcha. Let's go back to play again. Your play is NF, so it's NEFE. NF is, what is the point? What is the purpose? You have yours in the play category. Does that mean when you talk to people that one of the things that you love discussing with people is bouncing off like, what is your purpose? What is your passion? What is the meaning of life for you? It's like those are the kind of conversation that you really get really engaged on and kind of like to talk about.
Yeah, that's where this tool like is pretty scary. The fact that you can know that about me just from my type, it's pretty but yeah, I love to, and that was something I feel like it was a struggle for me, and maybe it could be like blast last, but just kind of like it's been a struggle for me to find my own purpose and calling in life and stuff like that. And so I feel like that influences it some, but also yeah, just any FE, I love talking about deeper things. Like I use my FE, I feel like, to kind of get in the door of what we can talk about football, we can talk about something kind of more meaningless, but I pretty quickly am able to navigate into a more meaningful topic of like, yeah, like what is your passion? I ask that a lot. like what drives you, what motivates you, just like stuff. I love talking about those types of ideas for sure. Yeah.
And I guess you're super curious too, like what people are up to, right? They're like, so what made you do that? Like, or like what made you decide to do that? Like those kind of questions, like you love to ask them, I'm gonna guess.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I love understanding people like 100%. And I think that's why I would dove so deep into like personality and stuff like that. Is I'm really enjoying this time right now in my life of learning about that, because personality for me is just, it helps me understand myself, helps me understand other people. And like that's one of the most important things in my life probably, is I feel like everyone should, I don't understand actually why everyone doesn't pour their time and energy into understanding themselves and understanding other
Right.
people. Like that seems like such a valuable endeavor. But that must be probably more of my NF. Like that's what I value. That's what's important to me, is the NF of how do you think about that? How do you feel about that? What motivates you for this? Why did you do that? And I feel like eventually I'll get to a point where I can just like put everyone into categories, stuff like that, but obviously it never really happens. So
Right.
yeah.
Um, I was thinking about NF and the four different positions the NF can be. For me,
Yeah.
I have NF consume, right? While the INTJs and all those guys that have that function stack, they have it as in a sleep position. You
Mhm.
have it in play, and then the INFJs and those guys, they have it in a blast position, right? So I was like thinking about it. I was
Mhm.
like, okay, so those INFJ guys, because NF is in their blast, their purpose in life is to teach, right?
Mhm.
Because NF blast is teaching essentially. So the purpose is
Yeah.
to teach. And then people that are like INTJs, ENTJs, ISFPs, and ESFPs, they have NF in a sleep position. So they find purpose from within. So they don't need you to tell them what it is. They know they find it from doing deep
Mhm.
introspective work, right?
Yeah.
I have mine in consume. So I find my purpose from new experiences, because consume is new,
Mhm.
right? New
Yeah.
information, new experiences. So whenever I do something new, I get inspired, and then I feel like I can build my worldview of what I'm passionate about, what is meaningful to me, and what I want to strive for in my life. So yours is in a play position,
Mhm.
and I'm trying to think, because it's play. I guess one aspect of it is one of your purpose in life is to connect with others. But then what are you doing when you connect with others that is purposeful or meaningful? So that's like the next part of the question that I'm kind of stumped on. So I don't
Yeah.
know if you've ever asked those questions to yourself, because we do have the NF play consume, or NF play, a play in an NF state, sorry. Um,
Mhm.
so what are your thoughts on that definition that I just mentioned?
Yeah, that's a good, I really like the idea of seeing NF in each of the animals, and yeah, and understanding where like that purpose and meaning comes from. So I feel like for me, it's a lot of, yeah, I do really value connection and harmony and um, interaction with other people. And I feel like the NF part of it kind of comes in kind of a mutual value, I guess, if that makes sense. So I love helping other people leave when they leave our conversation feeling more inspired, more driven, more connected to the NF part of themselves, more connected to their passions and stuff like that. That gives me a lot of meaning, a lot of purpose in life. Like I actually absolutely love that. So I'm actually just recently had become like a certified Enneagram coach actually too. And so like that is a lot of purpose and meaning, because it's that play of I get to help other people discover about themselves, the NF parts about themselves. I feel like the motivations and stuff like that. And in the same way, I always feel like I learn a lot about myself through interaction with other people as well. And so I feel like and my NF play is double feminine, and so it's very kind of two-sided. I feel like if I'm learning about them and learning about life and learning and gathering wisdom from them, as much as I'm pouring into them and caring for them and listening to them. And so yeah, I feel like there's a lot of meaning, at least for me, in just kind of being with people, which I know is kind of, it's very NFE to say that, but I just feel like being with people, just being, not doing other things, not focusing on other things, but just simply like being in essence with other people. seems to give me a lot of purpose in life. So yeah, I don't know. I don't have to know. It's a very NF thing to say, but
Now, even though your NF is in a play position,
mhm.
I have met some ENTPs in my life that there was one guy specifically that is a spitting image of another ENTP I interviewed who's also was also NEFE.
Okay.
And he did something amazing, and there is a lot of NF play involved, but he did something for himself first before it became. I'll give you a concrete example, okay? So basically, this guy, um, throughout his life, he's always felt like there was something telling him, like it's very NF, right? Something telling him that he needs to ride his bicycle around the whole planet Earth. Um, and he wanted to do like a non-profit organization based on that, based on mental health, because he said that his family, one of their skeletons in the closet is mental health issues. So for him, he's bipolar, right?
Yeah.
And but he didn't want to do it because he's tribal of himself and he doesn't like to be alone. So he didn't want to do it because the fear was being alone, essentially. I think he's also sleep loss, so double activated on the tribe. But when he was 40, his partner, his who became his wife now, convinced him to go pull the trigger and do it. So the tribe, so the play, convinced him to do his NF, essentially.
Yeah.
And he did pull the trigger, and he rode his bicycle from, I live in Vancouver, Canada, and he rode it all the way down to the tip of the bottom of Argentina, and then
Wow.
up Australia, across Southeast Asia, all the way across Europe, a little bit of Africa, and then across Canada. So, and he did it the diameter of planet Earth, and started a nonprofit organization right afterwards, to help people with mental health issue. And it's called Ride Don't Hide because instead of hiding your mental health issue, you should talk about it openly, you know?
Yeah.
So based on that example, it's the fact that so the part of the puzzle that confuses me is that if his NF is play, why, how did he come up with that? Or maybe it's NE then. Okay. So I guess the NE can kind of grab ideas from out of nowhere. So and then but then the tribe is the one that convinced him to pull the trigger. Because otherwise, I guess without the, because it's play, right? Without the play from the tribe, you were not going to pull the trigger. And then he's able to start this like annual biking thing where everyone rides their bike for charity. Money goes towards funding the people with the mental health issues that they want to deal with. So going back to you with this, I don't know if you've taken anything from this story, but his is a bigger scale, obviously. But has your NE ever told you to do something that is amazing and big and grand, but because you're tribe above self, you're scared to do it? But perhaps the tribe convinced you that you should pull the trigger anyways, and just do it anyways, regardless of how much fear you have. Has that ever happened to you?
Yeah, the best example that I have, it's definitely not the same scale, but because what he's doing is amazing. But the exact situation that fits what you're talking about is it, to go back. So was the Enneagram coaching. So I love personality. I love the Enneagram, stuff like that. I found a lot of purpose and meaning, and everyone in my life, I feel like, knew me as like the personality guy or whatever. I don't know that much, don't worry. But like compared to most people, like a lot of people don't dive into this stuff. And so everyone kind of knew me as that, but I wasn't really doing anything with it. But I always thought it'd be cool. Like, I think it'd be so great to have a bigger platform and like actually like lead workshops, seminars and stuff like that on personality in some sort. Used to be just Enneagram. Now I love, OPS and stuff like that too. But like, that's kind of the dream grand vision that I have for my life in some way, but I wasn't taking any steps to pursue it at all, besides just learning, like consuming on my own. And so I finally like attended like a seminar to learn about the certified Enneagram coaching, like how to go through that process. And I left it and I was like, that felt like, that seems like so right. And like, I want to do it. But I was just like, no, like I probably won't, like it was just, yeah, like that would be cool, but it costs money. It's difficult. It'll take a little bit. And so I just kind of was leaving it at that. But then I went and talked to my girlfriend and she was like, so why aren't you doing it? And I was like, I don't know. Like, and she just was like, I think you should do it. And then being a tribal self person, I call my parents and I'm like, hey, there's this opportunity and I would really like to, I think I want to do it. And they're like, oh yeah, we always knew you should do something like that. It's just it's not a matter of when you do it, or it's not a matter if you do it, but when you do it. Like they always thought like, and so all of a sudden, now that I had the tribe support, now that I had everyone's support on it, it was like, now I had permission to like move forward
Yeah.
and dive into like what I actually felt like I already had a lot of purpose and meaning from. But it's so ridiculous that I had to, get the tribe validation of that. And so now that's why it's like, oh yeah, I'll pay money to learn more about personalized systems or whatever. It's just like, this is what I feel passionate about. This is what I feel
Right.
like gives me purpose. And so that's the closest example I can give. Obviously it's not the same grand scale, but it is something. I don't know where that meaning or purpose, I don't know why I like this stuff. I don't know why I love talking about it, but I do. And so, yeah, that's kind of my best example of that.
So where did the original idea come from? Or was it something that just built up over time?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, like you said, I could see the NE of just grabbing on the idea of like, I saw someone else that was an Enneagram coach. And so I thought, like that'd be cool. I mean, I remember like seeing a concert and seeing like, that seems cool. If like that person has so much influence and it is so well like loved and listened to and stuff like that, I was like, that's cool. And so I feel like all of a sudden you kind of just like pair some of these ideas and it was like, what am I passionate about? And that was personality systems and stuff like that. And so I feel like it all kind of came together to that. But I do feel like I feel like it did come somewhere inside of me. I don't know really where though. But it came somewhere inside of me of that feels like what I need to do, feels like a passion of mine, but then my passion needed to be validated by the tribe. So yeah, I don't know, it's somewhere inside, I don't really know where, but it just kind of came into my head one day of like, this is what I feel like I should do. So yeah, I don't know.
I guess the starting point is hard to find out, to pinpoint.
Yeah, I'll have to think about that more for sure. If I figure something out, I'll let you know.
Sure. I guess all we know right now is it creeped up slowly, and then before it avalanched into this one big thing.
And it feels very scary too. I don't know why, but like and it sounds like for him it was kind of scary too. Of like you needed validation. It felt like this is what I should do, and yet you're still not doing it. Like so, that's a weird. Like I know some people, it's like this is what I feel like I should do. It's like I'm gonna do it. So I don't know what that's about either.
Yeah, no, that's interesting though. I find that NF play to be interesting. NF play, yeah. I was like, what are you guys doing here? This NF play. I know the definition part of it, but I'm trying to get more concrete. Sure. But then I'm getting your story now, and the other ENTP story. I'm like, okay, I'm starting to piece it together now. What's going on with this NF play stuff? But it's definitely it's definitely a fascinating one to derive your purpose from. But I think it's good once you get it going. Because like you're doing the Anagram stuff. My friend who rode his bicycle, NE is like building a network too, right? So he has a network of people like riding their bike now for this purpose of not being ashamed of having mental health issues. Like it's fine. So for you, it's like what you said earlier is like everyone should be learning more about themselves. Like that's like a no-brainer. Like this is like important, and yeah, it is important because it should be like the first step or the map essentially of how you would make every decision in your life.
Right.
Cool. What's your Anagram type, by the way?
So I'm a 9, actually. So I don't know how much you know about that, but I would say I'm a social 9, 9 wing 1 probably, but so a little bit more like counter type of 9, so a little bit more expert and stuff like that. But that's part of the, I needed the affirmation because it felt like I finally found something that gave me identity. And yeah, so anyway, what's your Enneagram type? I feel like you've said it before on a.
You are introverted though. You're like a play consume sleep, right? So you're so the 9 still makes sense in that case.
Yeah.
Yeah, the one is interesting though, the wing one. So
Yeah, I tap into the wing 8. I feel pretty balanced with those, honestly, but I'm not, I mean, it's the feminine with the tribe, right? Like I don't feel that 8 energy of like challenging the tribe, but yeah, so.
I guess you're more
What's your
wing.
Enneagram type?
I'm 7.
That's what I figured. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm 7 wing 8. Yeah.
Which I feel like a 7 seems to like that. I feel like that fits more of the EP archetype, right? Like in
Yeah.
my mind, at least.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, 7 is definitely an EP.
sleep last. Yeah.
Right. Um I've seen some EPs that are 9s, so it's not like it doesn't happen, but they're usually consume sleeps, or like sleeping.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So it's like, yeah, not the they're more
Hmm.
mopey. So I guess you're strange in a way because you're play first before yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
I
my
used to think I was a 3 for a while. So
is that your tri type then? The three.
yeah.
That's your your emotional side. There's like,
Hmm.
and what's your thinking brain?
I've gone back and forth between 5 and 7. So if it was 7, that would make sense too, because then I have 2 like more extroverted types as my like tri type. So,
If you were
but
5, you would
because
be
my first,
secretive.
yeah, go ahead.
If you were a 5, you would be secretive then, more selfish,
Yeah. See,
more selfish with your ideas and
yeah, I
yeah,
can see both pretty strongly, because I do like it's that tension of it feels like the 7 is more of like the play side, and the 5 is more of the consume sleep side. So it's weird. I don't know.
gotcha. I love the Enneagram. I went in a deep dive in that before, and
Yeah, I've heard you talk about it. So.
oh, it's super useful, man. Like one of my biggest life issue, I I worked on it because of the Enneagram. If I never did the Enneagram, I would never know.
Hmm.
Like, type seven's biggest problem is not looking into darkness, right? It's always like the glass
Yeah.
is half full, and you
Right.
and I realized I had trouble with empathy before because I have FI, right? So if I never experienced bad things, I can't relate to the bad things that happen to you. So,
Hmm.
that to me was like a game changer. It's like, okay, I need to dive into hell for me to
Yeah.
have more empathy. Um,
Yeah. No, that's exactly right for 7s. Yep. That's perfect.
let's go over your next animal, sleep, ST,
Yeah.
and it's like block banging or getting stuff done or getting work done. Talk about
Hmm.
that. How do you experience that?
Yeah. The ST sleep. It's yeah. I feel like in my head, if I'm doing anything in my head, which I don't feel like I do that much in my head, honestly, like I feel like a lot of people have way more going on in their head than I do. But I feel like if I am, it's kind of that block banging of putting pieces together of some sort of puzzle in some way. That sounds almost NT sleep, but ST sleep of more the block banging side of it. And I definitely just stereotypically, I am pretty cheap, pretty like stingy with my money and stuff like that. I know you've talked to people about that.
Yeah.
I definitely am very like money is very personal to me. Like money, like I don't like to spend a lot of money. I don't understand people that spend a lot of money. Like that's very hard for me to like really understand. And so yeah, and my ST sleep is double masculine as well. So it's very like if I take the time to really process something, build the blocks of it, like it's very personal. But it is third, and I'm still pretty young, so I feel like I haven't really tapped into the full potential of that sleep yet. Um, but it can be. It built a very strong structure of here's some personal beliefs and stuff like that that I won't cave on and stuff. So
Yeah. Like you guys are definitely that ENTPs are definitely weird with money, like 100%. Like you guys are like it almost destroys rapport too, It's like the opposite of like NF play. It's like the rapport
mhm.
destroyer. It's like the cheapness. um,
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
um, except for the sleep last ones. In a way, it's like a blessing because
Sure.
yeah,
Yeah, sleep third. I don't feel like it completely destroys it, but it does hinder it sometimes for sure. So
right. Because I did the interviews with the INTPs and the panel interview, like the INTPs and what was the other one? Was the other opposite of you guys? The EJ version, ESFJ. They don't seem to
yeah.
care about the money thing as much. I mean, they want it,
Hmm.
but it's not the number one priority. So I guess it's like a thing problem. So it's more like an IJ EP kind of weirdness.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So since we're in this
Yeah.
topic, talk about being weird with things.
Mhm. Yeah, that was one of the trickiest parts. I really couldn't decide if I was an observer or a decider until I got typed. I went back and forth a lot. But I do feel I can see the double decider. I feel like almost more than I can see the single observer, which I guess makes sense. The one thing I'm really weird about is I hate driving. I don't know how you feel about driving, but driving stresses me out a ton.
Yeah.
And I don't really know exactly why, but like, I mean, I've been in a couple accidents, so I feel like that added to it. But yeah, like driving, like I will kind of throw a fit if I have to drive when I don't need to or whatever like that.
Yeah.
And just all the little things that can go wrong. Like I recently, my battery went out on my car, and it was just like seriously, like it was so completely out of the blue, you know. And so cars just frustrate me. But I don't like paperwork. I really relate to the thing that Dave said of like, you know, when you get pulled over or whatever, it's like, I don't care about the cop. In a lot of ways, I'm counting on my double decider abilities and my FE to get me out of the ticket. Like, I'm not worried about the interaction with the cop at all. Like, we'll probably be friends after this, but I am worried that I don't have the right paperwork. I don't have the right credentials or whatever. I still don't even really know. Like, I haven't really taken the time to like actually consume that part of it because that just frustrates me a lot. So that's one thing I'm pretty weird about. Otherwise, I'm still kind of waking up to my sleep, or not my sleep, sorry, my observer, my things problems. So yeah, I don't know. What are some things problems for you? Because we have the same NE-SI,
We do, yeah.
feminine NE, masculine SI. So I'm interested to hear what you have.
I actually love that. I love driving, actually. I love driving.
Yeah, I feel like most EPs and stuff, like I feel like that shouldn't be a problem, but it is. So yeah, go ahead.
I love driving, but I hate traffic. Like I freaking hate traffic. I can't stand traffic. I'm play blast, right? So I'm like, I'm always raging. I'm
Sure.
masking FI and I'm double masking sleep. So I'm in my car.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm thinking, you know, like, get the fuck out of my way. What the fuck is stupid fucking traffic? Like, do you know how to drive?
Yeah.
You know, and like, I'm like a big. I'm the kind of person who would drive. I'll pull down my window, and I'm double decided, right? And I'll be like, "Fuck you," you know, like stick it in my middle.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. It's therapeutic for me because I'm double mask. I'm sleep last, double masculine. So when I drive, I get that out. I get like that aggression out. I just cuss out people in the window. I open my window and cuss out people. You know, call them morons and idiots, and I'm like, oh, I feel good. You know, after
yeah, that's good. Yeah. Traffic stresses me out a ton, but I just like become super like tense and just like, this is so like I don't, and I feel like it's the FE of like the social standards, but I still don't want to like offend anyone, so I won't like yell at anyone. I have a hard time honking at people and stuff like that, but like I'm still like this, like I need to make sure this works well. Like I'm gonna get out of this traffic, you know. So yeah.
I think what stresses you out is probably the same thing that stresses me out about driving is SE chaos. You know.
Yeah.
Oh, I cannot stand SE chaos, but I can't handle it. You know, like big traffic, I have to change lanes, and there's like a big jam on the right side. I'm like, how? And there's like an exit I have to go to. The exit's coming up,
exactly.
and I can't go to the right lane to go to the exit. And I'm like, what the fuck do I do? You know, like what?
Yeah. It's terrible. That's the one thing is like an EP is like I feel like I have that chaos, but it's the SE chaos. Right. So yeah. Oh, it's terrible. And like people, like I just don't trust the chaos of other people driving cars either. Like someone could easily, like I've been in an accident where someone just hit me out of the blue. It's just like that chaos is so stressful. And yeah, and people aren't like thinking correctly, I feel like, and thinking efficiently. This is my TI. Like I feel like there's a certain way this could work if everyone just like followed certain rules and stuff like that, the SI rules, but it doesn't seem to happen. And so yeah, it's super stressful. Like when my girlfriend is in the car and she's giving me directions, she's usually really bad at giving me the directions on time. And so then it'll be like, oh, you need to turn right here. And I'm like, you have to like get over really quick. Like that stresses me out so bad. So yeah.
Yeah, I think the worst driver is probably like INTJs, you know, because they're like SEs in the bottom, and they're stupid when it comes to sensory. And so if someone hits you, it's probably one of those guys.
Yeah, I consider myself to be like an ISE because I felt like that fear of SE chaos was so high. I wondered if that could be it, but then I came out NE SI, so here we are.
Right, exactly. Although you have masculine SI, so I'm a little bit like masculine SI would make you a pretty decent driver still, because you would still have good
I am
control.
a good, yeah, I think I'm a good driver actually. And yeah, I'm not really afraid of my own driving. I think I'm afraid of other people's stupid driving. So yeah, I actually am a very safe driver and like pretty good. Yeah. Yeah. What do you mean by masculine SI would make me like, that's interesting to me. I don't know if I've really thought about
Well, I
that.
mean,
What do you mean by that?
because masculine SI would make you good at controlling the physical. So when you're driving the car, you're controlling a physical object. So you would have pretty good
Yeah,
control of the vehicle, right? Um,
sure.
I mean, I can see the SE chaos being scary for me personally. Because I'm driving and I see a car coming, I'm like, I feel like it's a missile that's trying to like hit me, right? You know, um, especially like intersections and stuff. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I know people are stupid. That's my first thought in my head. Like no one's following the stoplights here. And, we have control problems.
Hmm.
So I'm like, no one's gonna follow the stoplight. No one's gonna follow the four-way stops. Or the all-way stop in the U.S. No one's
Yeah.
gonna follow these rules. People are idiots. They're just gonna do whatever the fuck they want. So I'm very cautious when I drive because I know someone's gonna break the rule. Like today, I was driving
Yeah.
and it's a green light, and someone like rides a bicycle across me while it's green. I'm supposed to be green, and I expected it. I expect people to be idiots, so
Right.
I was
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
a person, but like but I still have SI, so I'm good control of the vehicle, even though I'm like tense,
Yeah.
so
Yep. Yep. And then I don't know if this would be funny if you related to this, but like whenever I like am trying to get over a lane, like your blind spot, I always feel like there's a car in my blind spot. So I have to like double, triple check
yeah,
and then I get over. So
right. I do
yeah.
that too. Yeah, I don't I do a shoulder. I do multiple shoulder checks. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, for sure.
yeah. No, I relate to that for sure. So we're
That's
both
funny.
weird. We're both weird in that situation.
Yeah. But and again, like you said, like I actually don't mind driving if it's like out like on the countryside, like wow, like this is so nice. But then if it's traffic, like oh, my worst nightmare. So
Oh, dude, I was talking to an ESFP friend of mine, and he was complete. So he would ride his car. I don't know if you know Canada geography or cities in Canada. Do you know a city called Toronto and Vancouver?
yeah, I've been to Toronto. Yeah.
Okay, so I live in Vancouver, which is the one of the two popular cities in Canada. Canada was only
Hmm.
two popular cities, right? It's like Vancouver and Toronto. Yeah,
Yeah.
and maybe Quebec. Oh, sorry, Montreal. Okay, so maybe three. So
Hmm.
he's going to school in Toronto, and he has to drive across Canada to go to school, right? Not
Hmm.
not every day, but like to visit friends and family. So
Yeah.
so he would complain to me that the drive between Toronto and Vancouver, only the part before Vancouver, like 12 hours between Vancouver and Calgary, only that part is fun because it's like windy and like all over the place, and the rest is boring, flat, like prairies, like farmlands and stuff. And I was like, dude,
Yeah.
that boring, flat farmland, that is like my jam. Like I would love that. I
Yeah,
would
that's the
go nuts.
best.
Like straight line of like nothing for hours. I'm like, that is amazing. That is great. But like the windy mountains, I'm like, cut me out of that. I hate that stuff. Like
Yeah.
you know, like I don't know if you
I
feel that
actually
way.
like, yeah, no, I definitely can see what you're saying, and I would agree. And like I even kind of like driving at night better sometimes because I still feel fine driving at night usually, and there's less people, and
Yeah,
so it just feels easier. So anything to make it easier with driving. Yeah.
yeah. So I guess the SE is the enemy here. Stupid SE.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah. I wondered how that kind of played into it. So yeah, you're really helping me process and figure out why that's a problem for me, because it's weird because we don't have SE,
Yeah.
but like we're still afraid of the SE chaos. So that's, yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, it doesn't just we're not just afraid of it. It also pisses us off. So I'll give you a complete example again.
Yeah.
So I work in a community center. I work in the fitness industry, and my
Hmm.
manager is an ENTJ jumper. So she's SE, just
Hmm.
SE savior essentially. So she
Yeah.
enjoys the chaos of the SE, right? But because she has NI, she can only do one thing at a time. Well, for me, I like multiple topics, right? Like I can switch topic from
Hmm.
one to the next, and it's like no problem, right? So
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting.
so we were in a building, and she was setting up a seniors class, and she was setting the TV and stuff. And while she was setting up so she's focused on setting up the TV because it's a hybrid online and in-person class because right now it's a
Hmm.
pandemic and seniors can't they're scared to go work out, but they should. So
Yeah.
we have an online option for them if they want to exercise from
Yeah. That's
home.
great.
Um, so anyways, my manager's setting up the Zoom and stuff. So I go up to her. I'm like, hey, do you know what happened to the other room? Oh, by the way, how's your weekend? And then I'm like, like, how was your weekend? And I'm like, oh yeah, by the way, look at those. Do I need to get some chairs too? And she looks at
Yeah.
me like frustrated, right? He's like, Kendrick, I can only do one thing at a time. Please, can you just keep yourself busy for now? I'm like, okay. And then right after that, she wanted to move equipment from one storage to another storage. So now this is my SI freaking out over her SE because I just want to move the steppers, like fitness equipment. So there's steppers, barbells and stuff, dumbbells, exercise mats. So for me, I only want to do one category at a time from one room to the next, just the barbells or just the steppers. But when my manager is channel changing, she's like, oh, what about the stereo? Oh, what about the step? What about the chairs? Or what? I'm like, no, I want just one physical object at a time, one category at a time. That's it. And then right after that happened, because I was getting frustrated, I'm like, oh shit. I'm like, that's SE and SE versus NI and NE.
Yeah.
I'm like, so that's what, and I'm like, so that's what those SE people are doing. That's how they're channel changing with the physical shit, Like my girlfriend does that.
That's so helpful. Yeah.
Yeah, like I'll be in a park.
I totally see that.
Yeah, like we'll be in a park and I'm like trying to prepare. Like let's say like we're supposed to read a book in a park. She'll be like looking at the person riding a bicycle, and then she'll be looking at the person that's like climbing the stuff. I'm like, can you just read a book? Like what? What's all this like shit? Like, like all this stupid SE stuff. I'm like, So
yeah, that's good. Yeah, that's actually really helpful for me because that helps me understand the difference a lot better because it can get kind of confusing when you try to explain it, but that's a really good example. And I also love how you can kind of, if you wanted to, you could really troll with her and mess with her and like keep changing the topic, because that's easy for you.
Yeah.
And then she could almost troll with you, and not she wouldn't be doing this on purpose because she doesn't know probably, but like, hey Kendra, can you move this part, then this part, then this part? And you're like, what? Like, no. So I definitely can understand that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, my girlfriend's an INTJ jumper, but she'll like
okay.
She'll double activated SE. She's a glass lizard, right? Yeah. And that's why she's so chaotic too, with like physical stuff. Like there's so much shit all over the floor here. And then like for me, I'm like, no stuff on the floor. I don't like SE chaos.
Yeah.
Like I'm a minimalist.
Yep.
I like.
Yes, me too.
Yeah, but then like I live with someone with lead S. Do you know Jonathan, the ENFP in the group, the consume sleep guy?
No.
Like he used to have a personality channel with like other guys. They had like the NI show. I don't know if you've heard.
Okay, I'll have to check it out. Yeah, no, I never.
Yeah. Anyways, his girlfriend is a jumper ENTJ. And like when I did a panel interview, he was one of the panel interview, and we were talking about like SI, and he started raging about like SE chaos. Like, there's nothing that pisses me off more than going home and there's like shit all over the floor, like what the fuck, and I'm like, dude, I get that, I get your frustration. Like I hate that.
Yeah, that's good. I didn't know that about myself, but now you're saying it, like I can totally see that for sure. Yeah, I definitely understand what you're saying.
Yeah, like in a
way. You think that the masculine SI ties to that too? Like, so if someone had feminine SI, would it be as bad?
So with feminine SI, they're more chill about it, but they will still get frustrated. So like my sister is an ENFP, double feminine. So feminine SI, so she doesn't care about like the physical stuff as much as me. Like she's more willing to make a mess. But when someone calls out her SI, she can fight you back. Like she moved out recently and she's been living with an ISFJ and an ENTP. So they all have SI, but because the how you organize things is personal. So she's butting heads with other SI people how they're organizing their stuff, right? And so one of her roommates is an ISFJ, and she would like take over all the spaces in the fridge, and my sister would just freak out. And she would like one time her friend was calling her out. It's like, why do you have all this stuff on the table? And then my sister's like, I never call you out for hogging the fridge. He's like, well, I don't hog the fridge. He's like, you don't hog the fridge? She opens the fridge. What about this? What about this? What about this? What about this? What do you call all that? And the person's like, well, you don't have to say it that way. Like, and then it's like, so yeah, the feminine SI can still fight back if need be, but they're not as aggressive, and they're not as weird with money too, like us with SI. Feminine SI is more chill with money. Ironically, they're better with making money too. If you look at people with feminine SI, they make more money than masculine SI people. So it's something to think about. Like Bill Gates,
Hmm.
feminine SI, Jeff Bezos, feminine SI, like all this feminine
Mhm.
SI people, they make like they
Yeah.
make like Mr. Beast is apparently an ENTP also, and he
Yeah, I saw that recently.
couple of feminine also apparently. So feminine SI.
Mhm.
So he just gives away money like left and right. Like
That's true.
yeah,
I feel like that's part of the success of it is I mean, they care about it, but like they all almost don't care about it as much. And
right,
so that probably
exactly.
allows them to just actually make money. So
I was thinking about dude
yeah.
that was something I was like thinking about the most. I'm like, okay, because I was kind of like you. I was like cheap too growing up, and I'm like holding onto the money so tightly. And then I did an experiment. It's like, okay, what if I'm more loose with my money? What would happen? Let's just to see what would happen. Like, okay,
Mhm.
okay, I'll lose $1,000. We'll see what happens. Like this, like
Yeah.
I cringe thinking about it, but like I wanted to
Yeah.
have like a real life experience and see what would happen. Just like so I did. I started like
Mhm.
blowing money just left and right to see what would happen. And then after that happened, I'm like started getting more opportunities. I'm like to make more money, and I'm like,
Mhm.
what the fuck? Like what's
That's
going on?
interesting.
Like what's going on here? Like why is it like when I let go of control of the money, more money comes in?
Mhm.
I'm like, what? Like I don't understand. Like what's? It's almost like illogical, you know?
Mhm.
And
The paradox for sure.
it is. And then look at those people, masculine NE and feminine SI, making so much money. I'm like, what the hell? Like my sister is
Yeah.
feminine, and she makes so much money, and she doesn't care.
Yeah.
You would be shocked how much money she would spend on a dinner. She'll go to Vegas and she'll spend $1,000 on a hotel, for one night,
Mhm. It's crazy.
and then she'll make like six figures easily. I'm like,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. The more people I'm starting to think about in my life, it's like the same trend. Yeah. The people that are like generous and yeah, give it away and don't care about it, just kind of live their life. It seems like they sustain that somehow. And it's like, okay. So
but it doesn't make sense. Like, how? What's
no,
happening?
I probably can't do it. You know what I mean? Like I probably couldn't like what you're saying is even like, whoa, like I even remember it was like, like this is terrible. I'll just be like completely honest. Like one time, like there was a guy that came up to me. I parked at like outside of a restaurant, and he came up to me recently, and he was like, "Hey, my wife and daughter are here. We're just passing through the area. I lost my wallet, and I just am trying to get them food." And I was like, I'm like, I don't know, should I, like $20, and I'm just like, I don't know if I have the money, but I did it. I'll accept. So like I did it and I bought him the meal and it felt so good and it felt like such a blessing just to like be able to like give to someone else. And yeah, it didn't hurt me financially at all. You know what I mean? But like it was still hard for me because I'm so cheap with my money and stuff like that. So yeah, I don't know. It's crazy.
You bought the guy food then?
Yeah, like I bought him and I was like, and I even like I was like, get whatever you want. Like I was like, get the kids meal, like the more expensive, I was like, get whatever.
Were you
So, and he got like a large drink and I was
were
like,
you dying inside when you were doing that? Were you dying?
it was a battle, it's like the tension was there. It was
Right.
like, I don't have that much money. But I was like, I feel like I should be doing this and I want to help him. And if I were in his situation, I'd want him to do the same for me. And so if I were in his situation, I'll tell you this, I definitely would have just gotten the cheapest thing on the menu. I wouldn't have got like, I would have got a water. I would have, he went for it. Like he got like a large drink, like the big, which that was the tension. I was like, I wouldn't have done, but I'm like, it doesn't matter, like it was really hard for me, but I was like, I'm just gonna say it doesn't matter. He can get whatever he wants. And this is just like a blessing to give, but it was really hard for me. So, but yeah, I'm hoping to do that more and just kind of hold money and stuff like that less tightly, but it's difficult for me for sure.
I guess as long as you budget that in, I think it's okay. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, like okay, I have like generous money amount or something, and then like, yeah, with this
Hmm.
money I can do dumb shit and it's okay, and or help
Yeah. Kind
people,
of a miscellaneous.
yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
and it's okay, and yeah, so that's
Yeah.
interesting. Definitely,
Hmm.
definitely a rabbit hole we both got sucked into with that SI.
It's so much more fun to go on rabbit holes. We can change subjects all day long. All the viewers will just have to like deal with it.
Yeah. Okay, so I obviously we're at the topic of SI. We kind of like informally transition to it. Um, um, so it's still your fourth function though, so it's gonna be the hardest.
Yeah.
One of the saying that one of the sayings is you haven't really gathered anything if you didn't organize anything. So N's gathering, SI is organizing. Talk about some life problems you've had as a result of not gathering or building or not organizing. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, that's tough. That's one of the reasons I think it was so hard to type myself and to see things in myself is honestly, like I can't see any huge life problems that have happened from that. I could see how it definitely could be a problem. Like I think on it, like, so I'm 24, so I'm pretty young. And like I feel like my parents were very good with like SI, you know, like they were, and so I feel like they helped kind of protect me from the world. But now that I'm starting to kind of move off and on my own and stuff like that, I could see it potentially causing problems. Like I could totally see myself like not paying a bill or, you know, like but I haven't had that yet, if that makes sense. But I mean, so I'm still in school right now. I'm getting my master's degree, and like I'll just, if I don't like actually write it down and remember it and stuff like that, like I will completely forget to turn in an assignment. Like I mean, just, and it's a small thing, but like that, I mean, it could add up, and I can see how that could potentially expand into something like more important. But right now, I don't know, I haven't seen too many like actual life problems right now from it. Maybe if you gave me an example of how that's played out in your life, since it is similar, like maybe that'll spark something. Maybe right now I really can't think of anything.
Okay, I'll give you example from my life problems, and then I'll give you ENTP examples, okay? Based on what's connected with SI, which is sleep and blast, okay? So my own life example, my own personal life example is money, and not not using my money to buy something concrete like long time ago. So like a home, okay, for example. So when I was younger, I'm in my mid 30s right now, but when I was in early 20s, I actually had a decent savings. Ironically, from working at Burger King and Starbucks, I was actually pretty good with money and I didn't spend too much. So I had a savings. Back then, properties were cheap, so I could have actually bought like a shitty ass cheap apartment, and it would have definitely you know, grown in value over the years. So had I used that money to invest in assets, I would not be in a situation right now where everything's so expensive to buy property. It's impossible now, especially for me.
Yeah.
Are you a millennial also, technically, or are you not?
I'm like, I'm like right on the line of millennial and Gen Z. So
Are you like a young millennial or are you like an old Gen Z?
I'm pretty sure I'm technically an old Gen Z, but like I literally
Okay.
might be like the first Gen Z.
Oh, you're the first generation Gen Z. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. So you kind of have like some of my issues, some not. Okay. So millennial problems is they can't afford to buy a home, right? That's one of the biggest issues right now, and because like everything's gone up in prices in like real estate, you know. So if I'm gonna like buy a house and like start a family and stuff, I can't. I literally cannot.
Yeah.
But I could have when I was younger if I had bought something shitty and it would appreciate it. So one of my biggest problems, I didn't organize my funds into an asset. You know, I just use my money to buy like a computer. So I got a super computer so I can play like really good computer games. I didn't like think ahead and like think of investments. Because seriously, if I had blown that money on a property, it would have had not even hurt me back then. Because I could have just made more working at Starbucks, you know. So you know, I didn't even have to live there. I could rent it out, right? So
That's good
so
example.
that's like one issue that I had. Another issue that I had was like health. So that's more like SIFI though. So it's like I didn't check in with how I felt when I was doing exercises, and I hurt myself before, and now I'm paying for it. So I have to go see physios, chiros, RMTs, and stuff to deal with like an issue I did from like doing deadlifts a long time ago. And it's like it's an area that also got re-aggravated over and over again. Just because I'm not like being aware of like my track record, my SI track record of like health issue regarding to this. So I should have actually not have exercised as hard, knowing that I could hurt something. So I want to go back to you now. As oh yeah, one more thing. Sorry, I forgot one more thing. One more thing is like I started a business before in fitness, and my business it's like it didn't go well. Right, first 4 months I made money, but after that I lost all my money, and I went back into debt. So it took me a few years to pay off the debt again. And it's because I didn't ask that important question. It's like looking at my track record doing this specific line of work.
Mhm.
So I have to look back into my history. Did I like doing this work like over those X amount of years? And knowing that what I felt about doing this kind of work, would I still like to do this in the next 10 years? And the answer was no. So that's the reason why the business failed. It wasn't because of I was a bad business person. It was because I
Mhm.
hated my job and actually was self-sabotaging myself. So because I freaking hated that industry. I was doing I was going to people's house doing personal training. I hated it.
Mm.
So
Gotcha.
I'm gonna bring it back to you now. So I have
Yeah.
multiple angles to hit with this. First one is
Yeah.
sleep, SITI. Um, an ENTP I interviewed before said that SITI is having a body that works. Okay, that's it is the single best sentence to describe ST sleep also as well. A body that
Mm.
works. Okay, your shoulder is working fine, your knees
Mhm.
are working fine, you have no health issues, everything's working fine. TI, you're kind of like a robot. So do you bring your body in for an oil change? Like do you see your doctor regularly? Do you see a dentist regularly? Just make sure that
Mhm.
everything's working properly. It's not about how you feel.
Okay.
It's more like the function of it.
Sure.
So is that
Yeah,
something that
that's
you
interesting.
regularly do with your SITI? Is like you go see all this like healthcare
Yeah.
professional?
So no. So again, growing up, yes, because my parents like forced me.
Right.
But since I've been on my own, like since I've moved, so I've moved here like about a year ago. And when I went home, my mom still made me schedule a dentist appointment. And so I went to the dentist, but I hadn't been in like a year.
Yeah.
And yeah, I haven't been to a doctor since I've been on my own or anything like that. And it's also the discipline of working out is really difficult for me. Like I
Right.
know I should, and I
Yeah.
kind of like it in some ways, but that is definitely an area where like yeah, I can totally see the build up of the tidal wave of me not working out, not eating as healthy as I should, or like I'll be like, oh, I'm gonna work out or I'm gonna eat healthier, but I don't actually organize and make a plan. You know what I mean? Like I'm not actually tracking it. I'm not actually, and so then all of a sudden, oh wait, I gained 5 pounds. That's weird. So I can definitely see that. Like right now, I still have a body that works. Like I haven't had any like health problems or anything like that, but I can see how it's kind of like I'm getting towards the end of a cliff. So that's good to know. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big one, man. Like you need to make sure you have a body that works. You need to make sure that you're doing all the stuff that you mentioned. You know,
Yeah.
checkups, exercise, nutrition, all that stuff, man. That like you definitely gotta.
It's really easy for me to just neglect those. Yeah, for sure.
Because like you're young, so it's easy to maintain it. But if you don't put the discipline to maintain it now, oh my god, dude, it's gonna get so hard later on when you're older. And
Yeah.
yeah, and you're like like 50 pounds fatter and like like
Hmm.
you know
Yeah, it's already like it's starting to hit, like I can start seeing like how I'm putting on weight each year and stuff like that. But it's like since you're NESI and you literally do fitness for like a living, what are your like NESI like fitness tips of like how did you start getting disciplined to actually like work out regularly and stuff like that?
um well, I got in the industry for personal reasons. My father passed away because of colon cancer. It was a long time ago. But
Yeah.
and I was like, I still remember the look in his eyes when he was sick, and he didn't want to go yet, and I was like, oh, if only he did the bare minimum exercise and the minimum
Yeah.
like nutrition. If he only ate a little bit more vegetables, and if he only did just twice a week of simple exercise, not even fancy, just simple. This colon cancer is preventable by exercise. If you do exercise,
Mhm.
you reduce the chance of getting it by 25% already, and if you eat healthy, that's another 25%, right? Or it's roughly 25%. Like so,
Yeah.
like there was so many things that's within your control to have prevented that, and he didn't do any of that, and then now he is not able. I'm pretty sure my dad's also an EP, and like there's so many things that he wanted to do, gather in his life, and now he can't gather anything because now life is
Yeah.
like he's the controlled him
Yeah.
essentially, and
Sure.
gone. So I was like, ah, shit. So that was like an emotional motivator for me to always work out.
Yeah.
Um, so the workout. So since then, before that, I never stopped working out. It wasn't until I was like 27, sorry, when my workout routine became solid. Like since then, I have never stopped working out. Like but
Yeah.
but I hate it. I
Every
Fucking
day.
hate it.
Yeah.
I dread it. I hate it. I do it as a professional. Like right now,
Mhm.
I'm a supervisor fitness leader. So if you want to be a personal trainer, I'm the guy that you go to do your practical exam. I actually mark you and shit. So like
Mhm.
like I actually marked my first guy just recently because I just got this designation recently. So it feels weird.
Mhm.
I'm the gatekeeper now. I'm the SI now. So I'm like, oh, it feels so weird.
Yeah. Yeah.
It feels so weird. It feels so weird. But
For sure.
I'm gonna eat very easy marker though because I'm like I don't want anyone to fail. So,
Yeah.
but,
Yeah.
but, but, but like but like for me, it's like I hate it, but it's something I came to terms with. Like this is something I'm gonna do for the rest of my life, and I come to terms that I'm
Yeah.
gonna hate it. I'm gonna dread it. Every single moment I do
Yeah.
it, I hate it, and but I always feel good after I finish it though.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, and
Are streaks important for you?
is that
Like you have, like you've been doing it since you were like 27. Like the streak of it, I don't know if that makes any sense. But like for me, the one healthy thing that I did, I started in 8th grade, that I still do, is I haven't had like a single soda since 8th grade. That's the one like healthy thing. I don't know. Like I stopped drinking because my football coach was like, go the whole summer without drinking soda. And I was like, after that summer, I was like, oh, I could just keep doing this. And so I've done it for like 10 years now. But like it's because of the streak. And so like I feel like if I actually got into like the habit and the streak of like working out, then like I think I could do it. But it sucks every time restart. Like I've had to restart working out so many times, and it sucks so much more when you're just starting off than when you're like doing it weekly and stuff. So I don't know if that makes sense to you or not.
you talk about the momentum then, like the momentum you built up?
Yeah, momentum. Yeah, for sure. Is that something you
No,
struggle with too, or is that more?
it definitely helps. I feel like there's two different things. There's the streak and there's the lifestyle. So lifestyle is
Mhm.
if you don't do it, something feels weird, something feels off. And
Mhm.
even if you hate it, you know you have to do it. It's like smokers, right? I'm pretty sure a lot of them they don't even like smoking anymore. But it's like it's so
Yeah.
built in their lifestyle, like it feels weird I didn't smoke today, Like so it's like
Yeah.
it's kind of like that feeling. It's like this, like my workout routine, it's regimented in the sense that I try to do it on the same day every week with the same exercise every week. So that's also SI, by
Mhm.
the way, because SE people they don't like doing the
Mhm.
same exercise. They like to change exercise all the time. But for me, I like to do the same exercise over and over again. Um,
Mhm.
but for me, the system that I was able to adhere to and sustain is I have this I have all these exercises that I have to do this week. Like let's say I have to do a push, a pull, a vertical push, a
Mhm.
vertical pull, a squat, some kind of hip hinge like a deadlift or some sort, some core workout, some cardio and stuff. So I have to do all that workout within a week. Now it's up to me when I want to do it in that week. I just have to stick it in
Mhm.
somehow. Okay,
Mhm.
and so that has worked for me. Has that been
Yeah.
perfect? It has not been always perfect, but it's been 95% perfect. So it's pretty damn good.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
and like yesterday, like was my day off, and I really did not want to do my leg workout. I really didn't want to do it. But I set myself up to success. So I bought like super heavy kettlebells and I have it here. And
Mhm.
I'm like, you bought it already. You need to do it. You spent $200 on this big ass 77-pound kettlebell. So you're gonna do your
Mhm.
damn single leg RDLs and Bulgarian split squats. I'm like, okay, how can I make it like digestible? So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna play video games, and in between, like I'm playing MMO RPG. So while I'm waiting
Mhm.
for my party to finish filling up, I'm gonna go do like a set, and then when my party's finished, I'll
Mhm.
run and play, and then I'll come and like do like a set in between,
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
I gave myself like 12 hours to finish like 3 exercises, and
Yeah.
I did do it. I finished all of them, and and I felt good that I did it, and I hit my quota this week for legs. So I'm like, cool, okay. So
Yeah.
um,
Yeah. I like the way you're doing. I mean, that makes sense to me. I don't know if that would work for everyone, but I like the idea of these are the exercises, like, and these are the things I need to do this week, but having the freedom kind of to be able to do them whenever it works or however it works, but just you have to get these done. So, and I don't mind doing the same exercises every week either. So,
it's
yeah.
it's it's not okay. It's not optimal. And as a fitness professional, I know that if I wanted to make gains, then I need to do it in in a better structure. But as an EP, I also realized that for long-term sustainability, this is what's sustainable. So I go for sustainability, not for optimization or maximizing the benefit, essentially.
Yeah.
And even with nutrition, I've been doing the same thing recently too. Like, okay, I hate meal prepping vegetables and I hate meal prepping protein. Carbs, I'm okay. It's easy. I just cook rice. That's easy. So I'm okay with that. I'm like, okay, well, how should I approach this? Well, I'm like, okay, well, I can go to Costco and they already have those bags of mixed vegetables. And I just freaking open it and I just put it in a plate and I just eat it as is. And I'm like, great. And I'm like, how do I make it taste good? Because I'm not gonna eat it if it tastes like crap, right? So I'm like, oh, I really like kiwi. So I'll cut some kiwi and I'll stick it with a vegetable. Like, there we go, kiwi and vegetables. So I got my vegetables and kiwi. And then for protein, I'm like, okay, I hate cooking protein. I don't want to cook it. So how should I handle protein? Well, someone said to me a long time ago, if a problem can be solved by money, then it's not a problem, you know. So I'm like, okay. So there's a Vietnamese restaurant that makes grilled chicken, and I ordered like $50 worth of like grilled chicken and rice and salad. From there, I have a whole stack of them. I don't eat all the rice. I only eat a little bit. I only eat the salad and the chicken. But they give you so many chicken, so I'm like, there we go. My meal prep is done for the week.
That's amazing. I love that. Yeah.
You know.
I get that. Yeah. And that's something I've had to realize. Is again, I'm so cheap. It's like, I really value my physical fitness if I'm not willing to spend some money on it? You know what I mean? Yeah. So that's a tension I've had to wrestle with recently. Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's part of your ST, right? So do you want the ST money or do you want the ST body? You have to, you have to choose, right?
Yeah. It's
body that works or bigger wallet, I guess.
Right. Yeah.
But having a body that works gives you more energy to make money. So
right. Well, yeah, and I think most people hopefully would say the body that works. I think, but I don't know. Maybe not.
It's hard.
I'd rather have the body.
It's hard. It's a hard dilemma for sure, man. It's not a simple. Like, I make it sound simple, but it's not simple. Like the system I came up with, I told you about, dude, it took the whole pandemic to figure it out. You know, like I really had to use because the pandemic gave us time to sleep process, so it gave me like a lot of time to like, okay, how I need to pick something that's sustainable. Because I know if if you go to Instagram and you look at those pictures of people with the meal prep, they have those Tupperwares and shit. Everything's like perfectly organized. It looks so nice and everything. It looks tasty. Honestly, are you gonna do that? Are you seriously gonna do that? Like, okay, yeah, maybe you can do it for 3 or 6 months, right? There's no way in hell you're gonna be able to sustain that forever.
Yeah.
You know. So when I make a system now, it has to be something that's forever. And guess what? A forever system is not gonna be optimized perfectly. That's
Yeah. Yep. I'm there. And this has been our fitness tips with Kendrick. So I hope you guys enjoyed that segment. And I just needed that. So hopefully everyone else benefited from that too. But yeah, it's such an NESI like way to do it too. So I love that.
Yeah, we can relate to that NESI stuff because like we're both idiots when it comes to that area.
Yeah. Totally.
The last part we didn't talk about yet for you is SF Blast. Okay. So I like the ENTP's SF Blast actually for many reasons. David Chan said that the best people to make the rules are actually EPs, because if an EP enforce a rule on you, it must be important, because EPs hate rules. So for them to set a rule to you, it must be important. So only EPs know what is the bare minimum amount of rules needed for society to function properly. But we don't want to be the cop, and we don't like being told what to do, and we also like to control other people. So that actually makes us the best cop, essentially. Now, I read Jordan Peterson's book, 12 Rules for Life. I don't know if you've read that one, but it's a freaking amazing audiobook. I didn't read the book. I listened to the audiobook, and it's
audio. Yeah. Sorry, the audio. That's funny because we're both audio. Anyway, go ahead. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I always think, like, before I consume something, I'm like, should I read a book or should I get the audio? Like, do you know that what's that guy's name? The ESFP jumper who runs a lot. He's bald. He's black, and he does pull-ups. He's one of the alphas
Terrible with
that was
that
talking
stuff.
about in class.
Oh,
Not Jocko Willing,
oh,
the other guy. Shoot.
I can't think of it.
He wrote a book called Can't Hurt Me. Like
Okay.
jeez, it's bothering me now. I'm info dominances, but let me just Google real
I
quick.
say I can just move on from that, no problem.
What's that?
I say I have no problem just moving on. I don't have to know the name of it.
Yeah, but David Goggins. There we go.
Yeah, there you go.
Have you heard of him?
Yeah, like you said, they talk about him all the time.
Yeah. Okay. So I didn't want to listen to his audiobook because he sounds annoying, but his book is masterpiece. It is a masterpiece. I'm reading it right now. It is pure masterpiece.
Sure.
So I like consuming the alphas content because they're good. So Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules for Life, in my honest opinion, and I think you should listen to the audiobook.
Yeah.
It is the blueprint for how everyone of your function stack uses SF Blast. It is the very blueprint. He'll even show you examples. I'm like, he'll tell you examples. I'm like, this is gold, pure gold.
Yeah.
Basically, SF Blast is you trying to control someone's behavior, or you trying to get someone to behave properly, or follow a certain etiquette, right? So your SF Blast is last. So tell me how you're not doing that, and how it would actually help you if you did that.
Yeah, I don't like controlling people, that's for sure. So I feel like that's really tough for me. I feel like I kind of know, like I feel like I know the SF, you know, I feel like I know what would help people, like, and what would help. Yeah, like I feel like I would know if I would just say it, if I would actually just do it. Like I think I already kind of know it. I just don't actually do it at all, of telling people proper etiquette and stuff like that. That stuff just, it's very easy for me to see, I feel like. Email etiquette, super important to me. Like I feel like no one understands email etiquette or whatever. And this where Kendrick roasts me for not emailing him right now. But it's something, yeah, I don't really ever do. I don't really ever control people. I don't teach that much. I feel like when I teach, I think I'm teaching, but I think it's a lot of play. Like I think it's just like processing with people. Even what we've been doing, I mean, we've mostly just been using play energy, I feel like, but and that's the nature of an interview. I mean, it makes sense, but I don't really actually share any known information that I have, I feel like. And I think it's hard for me to see why it would be beneficial. It feels like I don't like when other people do that to me. I don't like when people control me, but I think it just would help me actually like gain a lot of value and purpose in the world, you know. Like I feel like actually sharing, like I think I kind of want that validation. I want that you know, people listening to me and caring about what I have to say and stuff like that, and helping other people. I think is so satisfying, but I don't actually really do it that much. So that's one thing I can come up with. Maybe you have another idea of how it can be beneficial, because for me it's really hard to see what the benefit of controlling people would be, you know. Like that just feels so like counterintuitive to me. So I don't know, what do you think?
Well, the biggest benefit of blast is people take you seriously. You don't get taken seriously if you don't blast. That's the biggest thing I've seen in my life. Blast people have this issue, like, you know, feeling like you know, people just kind of run over you and you don't get taken seriously because no one sees this as an expert in anything, essentially.
Sure.
But SF Blast specifically, it has so many benefits, man. Like you would be the best at like making someone look good, because like you would know what looks good on them and not. So like you could be like, you know what, you should wear this shirt and this pants because that would look good on you. That's SF Blast, right? You know, it's like you're, you know, and it's physical too, right? With the SI, you know, or like, you know, you should wear this shirt with this pants and this jacket that matches, you know, organizing the FE, like how someone is, how they look, you know. It could be etiquette too. You could be like, you can coach your coworkers like who are idiots when it comes to like, let's say you're coaching an INTP who's socially stupid, you know, on like how to behave properly. So you can be like, hey man, you know, like in this kind of situation, I think you should tone down this side and like be more friendly. And it's like, I just ask them how they're doing and how their day was. Yeah, I know it's stupid. It's stupid small talk and stuff, and you don't want to have small talk. But guess what? There's long-term benefits to that. You can have a higher chance of getting promoted. You'll make more friends. When you finally want to release your idea to people, they'll take you seriously. And then people are like, really? I'm like, yeah, so you can like,
yeah, that's good.
yeah, using your double decider with your blast, it's like kind of telling them, they'll be like, so what am I supposed to do? So that's when your SIFE kicks in, right? Because there's like a system, there's a system for it, right? Jordan Peterson and 12 Rules for Life, he has a system to take care of like stupid kids, right? When kids are acting stupid, he's like, okay, well, when a kid's acting up, you have to give them the least amount of effort, punishment. So if you're you're having a lunch or dinner with another couple, and your son is causing a trouble, he's like, take your finger, flick them in the face with your finger. It's like, it's not enough to hurt them, but it's enough to stun them, and the kid will be like, oh, okay, I won't do that anymore. So if the kid's like being annoying, just like flick them in the face, like, and they'll be like, stop, It's like, so that's kind of like his SF blast. Like, yeah, he's just flick your kid in the face. I'm like, oh, okay, it's interesting. I'm actually taking notes when he was saying that stuff. I was like, oh, that's,
yeah. I seriously am going to probably read it because I've been wanting to, now that I found out my type, because I've only found it out pretty recently, but since he is my same type, it's like I feel like I need to, like, 'cause they talk about so much. And also, I mean, other people, non-personality, like everyone just likes him and respects him outside of objective personality or whatever, so it's someone I'm hoping to dive into. So that'll be like my first thing I probably do. So yeah, I definitely see what you're talking about. Like I can see how I could do that and I don't, you know what I mean? Like I do feel like I'm good at a lot of things you're saying, but I'm so scared of controlling someone else or, 9, like causing conflicts, so it's something I'm hoping I'll try to get better at and start growing in. So yeah.
Well, I mean, like, I know you don't want to control anyone and like enforce rules and stuff, but he gave a really good example. I think he was taking care of someone else's kid before, and then like the parent already warned him that their kid is like out of control or whatever. And then he managed to control a kid essentially, and make the kid, and then the kid stop acting like crazy after, and the parents were thanking him for doing it, and I mean, they were more shocked that he was able to pull it off. So yeah, SF Blast has a lot of power, man. Like you said you're cheap too, right? You like to save money, so like that that guy who is the hostage negotiator. What's his name? The ISFJ guy. He's like an FBI hostage negotiator.
I don't know if I've seen that one. Hostage negotiator.
Never Split the Difference. Have you heard of that book? What's the name of the author for Never Split the Difference? It's Chris Voss. Have you heard of Chris Voss?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so he's an ISFJ, and he uses his SF Blast to control the hostage, the terrorist essentially, to get them to do what he wants, right? And he saved lives. If he's never done it, so many hostages would be dead. So dude, that's a superpower. You definitely gotta use that, right?
Yeah, no, you're making it sound so much better than I've ever realized. So
I'm like selling it. I'm like selling this.
Dude, I'll buy it. It's good. Okay, just stop. No, it's good. I definitely see how it could be useful, but I just haven't really used it much. So now you're making me more excited to experiment with it for sure. So
I mean, you can use it for evil too. Hitler's an ISFJ, right? So I mean,
yeah, that's the example I've heard.
What's that?
That's the example I've heard of. Yeah.
Yeah, he's an ISFJ, right? It's like I was like, what the hell? Hitler's an ISFJ. So
crazy.
And that's SF Blast is also doing, right? So
no, you can totally see it. Yeah,
you can. So it's up to you how you want to use it, man. You can be a Nazi, or you can be a save hostage.
Yeah for sure.
All right, dude. I have 2 last questions for you, and we'll wrap up the interview. Okay.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay. First one is so you're an EP and you have problems with fear, and your fear is coming from control. So talk about your fear control and any tidal waves that was control related, and it could be paperwork involved or someone controlling you, but it's control related.
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting. EP was actually probably the human need that I was I at least thought I was probably actually before I got typed, which is so interesting. But like looking back on like my video and stuff like that, like I can see kind of how they came to it. Of like, I recently, not too long ago, was in like a very controlling relationship, and that's how I described it. It's like, oh, why'd you break up? She was controlling, you know, like, so it's funny, you can hear yourself saying that kind of stuff. But it's really interesting. Like I stayed in like a 4.5 year relationship, even though she was extremely controlling and stuff like that. So it's weird to me to think that like I have a problem with control when I kept myself in a relationship for that long. But I think that was like my last of not actually getting started, not actually breaking up with her, which I knew I needed to do. So I don't, actually probably doesn't really relate too much to this, but I think it's not so much of like, I've never had too much of a problem with like rules. Like I'm not super rebellious or anything like that, but I don't really like to be told what to do. I've had commitment issues in relationships. I don't like the subtle, like, I want to have options open, I guess, if that makes sense. I want to, it's not the afraid that the, like, I don't get into conspiracies. I don't feel like the government's out to get me. Like, it's not that. It's more of the subtle, like, oh, you should come to dinner tonight. And I'm like, because you said like I should come, like I want to have the option to say no. You know what I mean? Like, and so I'm not going to go to assert my control. You know what I mean? It's like that kind of stuff. So maybe I'll get into conspiracy someday, but right now, like, I haven't got into that super deep control government stuff like that. But yeah, so it's still something I'm kind of exploring, because again, it was like the thing I probably saw the least. But I think it is there, but I just haven't really uncovered it too much yet.
Based on what you're saying, it's very interesting because you're more freaked out about someone telling you to go to dinner than the system. The government is out to get you,
Yeah.
right? I think the system thing
Yeah.
is more NI. I think that's more like a system. It's like it's an NI
Mhm.
kind of, like an ESFP or ESTP kind of issue, you know? Because it sounds like for you, it's
Yeah.
like it's like physical. It's like go to dinner, like physically be at dinner. You're like, nah, not sure, you know, like
Right.
yeah. And then earlier, the example that you were saying about like you had a controlling relationship with an ex-girlfriend, I guess.
Mhm.
It feels like it was a blast last problem because you didn't speak up
Mhm.
when you needed to speak
Right.
up. So
Completely.
yeah, like when your girlfriend's being controlling, you should have told her to, like, you know, stop doing it, you know, cut it, nip it in the bud or something. I don't know.
Right. And it's just crazy because like I did that for like 4.5 years, like long distance relationship. And it's like, I don't know why I did that. You know what I mean? Especially if control is such a problem. Why would I let myself be controlled by someone for 4.5 years? So it's really weird. But I don't know if you have any, and I think it is the blast last. I think that's definitely the biggest part. But it's strange, I think, for an EP, potentially. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like it seems like that would be a strange place for an EP to sit for 4.5 years. So yeah.
It's tough, man. You're double-sided too, right? So maybe sometimes you kind of see her perspective if why she's doing something. So I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um. Cool. Okay. I had a thought that just flew out of my head. It's annoying. It's okay.
Feminine. Yeah.
Yeah. It's no. No, I have SI on the bottom like you, but it's still bad. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
I had a good question
Yeah.
for
Is your
you.
memory, do you have good memory?
I do, yeah, for like physical stuff, like numbers and like and whatnot. My concepts and stuff, I always forget it. Yeah, what
So
about
like
you?
even like childhood memories and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah. Do you?
I I have really bad like child. Well, and so I've heard you mention this in other interviews and stuff like that, but I feel like most, even like people that are audio like us, um, like I feel like I'm pretty much like you, because you've talked about, like, I don't see things visually in my head like at all, and people don't understand that. And I've seen people in your interviews who are like, no, but you do, and you're like, but I don't, like, and I don't either, and people don't understand that. But like, so people are like, oh, I'm like in this childhood memory, like I can see myself at Disney World and stuff like that, and I'm just like no, like I know I went to Disney World, but like I don't actually see myself, like, you know what I mean? So I don't know. I feel like that hinders my memory some. And I guess you have blast second, so you do have that SI activated at least, but mine's like last, like, and sleep and blast are my last two animals. So like I just feel like I don't use SI like at all. So I feel like like I did well on tests in school and stuff like that. Like I'm good at facts memorizing for a time, but I feel like I hardly remember stuff from like my childhood and whatnot. So it's interesting.
I think we're different in that sense because I have FI. I have masculine FI. So
Hmm.
the stuff I remember from my childhood is because of strong emotions. So the
Yeah,
emotion,
I don't have that.
yeah, you have TI inside, so you don't have strong emotions internally. Your emotion is outwardly, it's also feminine. So
Hmm.
yeah, it's a more like it's more of an emotional memory that I'm remembering, not
Yeah,
not like a
that's
vision.
interesting.
Yeah, not like a vision. Although the emotional memory can create a vision, but it's not as like a visuals vision.
Hmm.
It's more like a shadow, I guess. Best way to explain it.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess since we're in this topic, I'll ask you the last question will be on your sexual modalities. So you are audio kinesthetic. So talk about learning from sound, hearing, as well as doing things with your hands and movement.
Yeah, I remember when I was younger, at some point, I just remember like sitting in a class one day, and I usually would like take notes and stuff like that. And I didn't taking notes helps me because of the kinesthetic part of it, but like I was like, I'm just gonna like try to just listen and just see just by listening like how much. And I feel like I retained so much from that class day. And ever since then, I was like, I wonder if I could be like an auditory learner. And I don't know. I've never like put too much thought into it after that. It's more of I can definitely see the visual last because I'm such a non-visual person. So that it like, okay, yeah, this is probably right. But I do really like podcasts. I don't actually listen to music like almost ever. So I don't know. Do you listen to music a lot? I mean, I feel like it's more of an FI thing potentially too. Like I don't really like, oh, this song just gets me, like I don't have that. But I do listen to a lot of podcasts and I'll watch videos. I don't even have to really see it. I can just listen to the video. I'll play some objective personality YouTube videos in the car without seeing it. I'll just hear it, and that's fine for me. And then kinesthetic, I do feel like I learn by actually doing stuff a lot. Like, and I pick up sports pretty easily. I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but like if I can actually physically do it, like if someone was just telling me, like I just had to learn how to like lock up my building for work, and it was like she like sent me a thing, and I was like, can we walk around and actually like lock the doors? Because now that I did that, I know I can do it. But if not, it would have like freaked me out. So because just seeing it visually on a paper, it's like that means nothing to me. So yeah, I don't know.
Um, Music wise, I teach spin, so yes, I like music. Um,
Hmm.
the stuff that you were saying earlier that you listen to a lot of podcasts, and that's a good way for you to learn. And you don't really need to see it as long as you hear it, you can learn. I'm also curious
Hmm.
though. So one of the things that I do that comes across as rude, but I'm actually listening to you very intently, is I will listen to you, but I'm not looking at you, but I'm fiddling with things because I'm kinesthetic. So I'm
Hmm.
like playing with something. And they were like, "Can you listen to me?" I'm like, "I'm listening 100%." But if I look
Yeah.
at you, I'm not gonna be able to pay attention. I'll zone out. But if I am fiddling with something while you're telling me something, I will retain it. I know it's weird. So I don't know if
Hmm.
that happens to you because you're also kinesthetic, you're auto kinesthetic. So like when you're
Hmm.
listening to something while fiddling on something, do you feel like that's a stronger way to learn?
Yeah, I get what you're saying for sure. Like I always thought it was dumb, the whole like let's play with Play-Doh or fidget spinner or something like that. Why like that seems so dumb, but then like it actually does help me. And then my parents kind of get mad because like I don't live near them right now, so I'll FaceTime them and I usually play video like I am training in a video game while I'm talking with them. And so they're like, hey, like, are you paying attention? And I'm like, yeah, like this is actually so much easier for me to like listen because I'm like
Yeah.
I play Rocket League. I don't know if you know what Rocket League is, but like
No.
I'll train, and so like I'm not actually like putting in too much effort into a game. Like it's just training. Like it's not a big deal, but it helps me like pay attention so much more. And yeah, I like to fidget with stuff all the time. So
Yeah. And then apparently people who are audio kinesthetic or kinesthetic audio, we have the wiggles or something, like you can't sit still. Yeah.
I bounce my knee all the time. I don't know if you do that,
Yeah.
but
I'm doing it
like
right now.
my family, yeah, my family always got mad at me for that. I don't know why I do that. People always ask, and I'm like, I don't know. So yeah, I like to constantly. I mean, I've been like messing with the desk in front of me like this whole time and stuff like that. I
Yeah.
haven't been really looking at you that much, honestly. Like I've just been kind of playing with my keys or whatever. So
Yeah,
yeah.
it's fine. Yeah, I remember I interviewed Play Last INTJ before, and even though he was Play Last, he couldn't stop fidgeting too. So it's like, oh, interesting. Because I
That's
mean,
interesting.
the weird thing is like David Chan said that the fidgeting stuff that's like a high play kind of thing. But I also noticed that kinesthetic people cannot stop fidgeting. So so it could either be high play. So I guess if you're high play but you're not like kinesthetic or audio, you would still fidget a lot. Or if you are kinesthetic or audio, then you would fidget a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're like the worst because we have both.
Right. We're both play first and audio kinesthetic. So
yeah. Yeah, for sure. Got my rubber band here now. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. I remember when I sent in my typing video to Dave and Chan, Dave's like, okay, you're probably gonna want to argue with me as you're spinning around your chair like nonstop.
I love spinny chairs and like the chairs that lean back. Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's like
the best.
That's so funny.
I would totally do that in like conference meetings, stuff like that more, but my FE obviously know. And I mean, any person should probably know that like you probably shouldn't be spinning around a chair during a conference meeting. But if it was like socially acceptable, I definitely would.
Really? Okay. Oh man,
I think so. I just it helps,
Dude, the worst meeting would be like an SITE like lead person meeting, and they're like talking everything so slow, and I would be fidgeting like a monster if that happens. I'm like, hurry up, like get to the point,
Yeah, I get that for sure.
Yeah. All right, Payton. Thanks for coming out and doing this interview.
Yeah, for sure. It's been really fun. I appreciate all the content and stuff that you've created. It was really helpful for me figuring out my type and just learning about personality and stuff like that. So just keep doing what you're doing, man. Appreciate you.
All right. Thanks, dude. I appreciate that. So peace out, man.
Yeah.